comfort.
Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, a new report examines the state's teacher crisis. And we'll discuss the latest homeless count in Maricopa County. Those stories are next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simon. State lawmakers are in a sprint to end the current session. Legislators have been working to pass last-minute bills, including one approved by both chambers this afternoon that would provide legal protection to those who break into a car to rescue kids or pets. Also today, Governor Ducey approved a bill that increases the personal income tax exemption and requires it to be adjusted annually for inflation. And the Senate approved a measure that repeals a requirement that welfare recipients be fingerprinted in order to qualify for benefits. The Senate also passed bills legalizing hemp farming and waiving taxes on the sale of U.S. gold coins. We will have much more on end-of-session activity Friday on the Journalists' Roundtable. Each year, the Arizona Educational Foundation recognizes the top educators in the state through their Teacher of the Year program. Nominations are submitted by coworkers, administrators, and students. Sierra Vista 12th grade English teacher Karen Bristow is a semifinalist in the program and one of the top 10 teachers in the state.
Ready to get up? All right. Choose your clothes for the day. My name is Karen Bristow, and I currently am a teacher at Sierra Vista's Buena High School. Both my husband and I teach here. It's a unique partnership we have because we have an understanding of I think the demands, the frustrations, but also the joys of being educators in this state. It's time to go. And we're proud to have our young boys at the local elementary school here and raising them here in Sierra Vista. That would be wonderful to have them as students, but I know we'll cross that bridge when we get there. They are in elementary school. You have a good day? Kisses? I love you. Where did Aiden go? Bye, Aiden! I teach English. I've always taught English or language arts. I started teaching 8th graders, and I've taught every grade level. Now I teach seniors as well as dual credit enrollment. Hi, this is for you. Welcome. I teach 3 different classes during the day. I have 2 sections of dual credit. Currently in the spring I have English 102, which is composition and literature. And they've finished a poetry unit, we are starting short story unit, and we'll finish the semester with a play. I really enjoy teaching both writing and literature. I cannot choose a single one. I always find something new in the text, and my students help me find new things in the text as well.
She's amazing. I think she's the best teacher I've ever had. She really cares about the subject and about the students, and she really works hard to make sure that the students understand what we need to learn and what she's trying to teach us.
It's really important from day one to establish rapport and connection with these young people. They're part of my life, and I like them to feel part of this community in my classroom.
It doesn't feel like class, so that's really great. I mean, it feels like we just discuss things that are actually important.
I think that she really looks at us all as individuals. Like, by the second week of school, she knew our names, and she just really cares about our education as well as our future.
Bye, I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to bring a poem. Thank you.
She's gonna wait for a week to did she tell?
Aren't they awesome? The students are awesome.
As a semifinalist for Arizona Teacher of the Year, Bristow won a spot at a Teaching Leadership Institute, a partial scholarship to Argosy University, and a cash prize. Teachers like Bristow, though, are in short supply as Arizona faces a significant teacher shortage. ASU's Morrison Institute of Public Policy has just released a new report on the issue, and here now is Dan Hunting, one of the authors of that report. Welcome to Arizona Horizon. Good to have you here.
Thanks, Ted.
What exactly did this report look at?
Well, we looked at both the attraction and retention of teachers in Arizona's teaching workforce, how they're moving through the system.
And as far as getting the information, where'd you get it?
This was a very comprehensive report. We had data from federal sources such as the Bureau of Labor Statistics. We had data from the Arizona Department of Education telling us about how teachers were hired when they came and went. And we also did a very extensive survey, had about 2,000 respondents to an online survey, and we did a lot of interviews and focus groups.
Department of Education, the State Department of Education, did they have the information that you needed? We hear that sometimes folks don't get that stuff.
We didn't get all the information of the quality that I would have ideally liked, but that's the life of a researcher. I
guess so. Well, let's get to some of the research here. We'll start with Arizona school administrators. They were asked about experiencing a shortage of teachers. 74% say that their campuses are experiencing a shortage of teachers. Does that surprise you at all?
Well, we knew there was a shortage. We know that this is not only an Arizona problem, but a nationwide problem for a whole raft of reasons.
Yeah, and 74% of Arizona school administrators, as far as rural school administrators, the number is even higher.
Correct.
85%.
Correct.
Because?
Well, in a rural community, it is harder to attract people to those professions. We had rural administrators say that it's difficult to attract a young person to come and live in a small town, that many times they're looking for a big city experience.
So 85% of rural school administrators say that this is difficult. As far as urban school administrators are concerned, a little bit less, 77%, but not much less.
Correct. And the shortage is not equally distributed. There's a real shortage of the STEM teachers, science, technology, and mathematics, and especially special education teachers as well.
All right. Your survey also found that more teachers leave than degrees are offered at the 3 state universities?
Well, then bachelor's degrees.
Yes.
There's still quite a number of master's degree students that come out, but yeah, the portion of bachelor's degrees in education at our 3 universities have been declining compared to our student population.
And as we can see here, 22% of teachers hired between 2013 and 2015 not teaching in Arizona after 1 year. Why is that?
Well, first of all, those numbers appear to be about what we see nationwide as well. Young teachers, young people in general, tend to churn their careers somewhat, but probably not so much in careers where you have to spend 4 years in a bachelor's program to get qualified for it.
And yet, 42% of teachers hired in 2013 left after, within, I should say, 3 years. Again, there's that churn. How do you fix that? What do you do?
Well, we found several areas. Pay obviously is important. That's a critical factor. But there's a couple other things that were concerning teachers. First of all, they have a sense of an ever-increasing workload, that class sizes have gone up in recent years. So they have more students to deal with. They're asked to do more duties in terms of teacher accountability and taking extra duties outside of the classroom. The other thing that is wearing on teachers, I think, is just a general sense of not being valued as much as they used to be.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. I mean, just the general perception of the teaching profession is not what it used to be.
And it comes on several levels, all the way from parents. You know, teachers would tell me about, sending home a bad report card with a kid and the parents calling them up and cursing them out on the phone.
Yeah.
Obviously, that doesn't make your job any easier.
No, not at all. And any idea of charter schools maybe being a little more stable as far as teachers are concerned, forget that. Your survey shows that 52% of Arizona charter schools, teachers hired within 2013, left within 3 years. That's more than the public schools.
Well, that is somewhat to be expected.
It is. How come?
Well, there is evidence that shows that when you relax teacher credentialing requirements, that those teachers tend not to stay in the profession as long.
So you're saying, we just had the governor on last night, and we talked about one of his signature plans as far as education is concerned, is to ease that teaching requirement. It has passed the legislature. He's all for it. You're saying that could mean more churn?
It may. That bill is an example of the complexity of this issue, that the governor was obviously for this bill. The state superintendent of public instruction, Diane Douglas, was opposed to it because she feels it's inappropriate to lower those credentials, right? What these relaxed credentials may do is get bodies into the classroom in the short term. But there are studies out there that say that those teachers that come in under these alternate credentialing mechanisms, they tend to leave 2 or 3 times the rate of regular teachers.
That's interesting. All right, let's talk about salaries. We've kind of hit in a couple of different ways here, referred to it. Your survey showed that when you adjust for cost of living, Arizona elementary school teacher pay lowest in the nation. High school teacher pay 49th out of 50 states. What's going on here? Well, a couple of things. First of all, that should not come as much of a surprise. Arizona's school funding is 30% below the national average, and since salary and benefits make up about 80% of school expenditures, you'd expect that we'd have low spending. The other thing I think that is significant is that our low teacher salaries are really, I think, a result of this churn in the teaching workforce. We've got over a third of our teachers have less than 5 years experience in the classroom. So we're essentially paying everyone entry-level wages on this. That if we were to reduce the turnover in the teaching profession, we'd actually see salaries start to rise because people would be more experienced and you pay experienced people more money. Isn't that interesting? So basically, because of the churn, the salaries are low. You got a lot of beginning salaries, entry-level salaries. Correct. As far as salaries are concerned as well, when you adjust for inflation, people say that you're still getting more money, but when you adjust for inflation, your study shows that elementary school teachers 11% less than in 2001, secondary teachers 10% less. I mean, that doesn't sound like we're on the right track as far as teacher pay is concerned. Well, we certainly are a low pay state. There's no doubt about that. But remember that some of that decrease is because we have not given teachers raises to meet the cost of inflation. I don't think that there are very many teachers in the state that have actually received a pay cut in that time. But the drop in salary is probably largely a result of that churn that we're seeing. Yeah, when inflation goes up and you don't get much of a raise, there you go. That's right. Real quickly, before you go on regarding diversity, I know you looked at that as well. And 14% of Arizona teachers are Latino, 44% of the students are such, and 78% of Arizona teachers are white, compared with 41% of K-12 students. That's an imbalance. That is an imbalance. I think there's an opportunity there that we need to start thinking about how we can make teaching an attractive profession to our Latino students that are coming up through the system right now. I think that's going to be something we need to look at. So take the study as a whole. Obviously, pay is not what it could be. Diversity not quite what it could be. What do we take from this study? Well, one thing that we need to remember here, there's some gloom and doom, obviously, but it was very clear in going through this, the passion that teachers have for the profession. And despite all the bad numbers here, 69% of the teachers say they are satisfied or very satisfied with their careers. So they're working under difficult circumstances and actually doing a pretty good job. Although we have rock bottom funding for education and, like we said, bottom of the barrel salaries, our performance isn't bad. We are below average in most areas, but just a little below average, and the numbers are trending in the right direction. I was going to say, they are improving, are they not? Correct. We're the only state in the nation that has seen statistically significant improvements in all the areas of the NAEP scores. Last question. We hear a lot that administrative salaries too high, teacher salaries too low. Your thoughts on that? Well, it's an easy solution to say, well, let's move money out of administration and support into the classroom. There's a concern that may backfire. If you think about letting go of an assistant principal who's in charge of attendance, for instance, and moving his salary into the classroom, distributing it amongst the teachers in the school, well, his duties won't go away. So the teachers are going to be
faced with an increased workload to take care of the attendance problem, and that workload is almost as important to them as the pay.
Yeah, welcome to the churn then again, right? Yeah. All right, good stuff. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate it. You're watching Arizona Horizon. Up next, we'll hear about a new homeless count in Maricopa County.
My child who's watching Super Y, and it said, "What letter makes the sound R?" And my 2-year-old is jumping up and down going, R, R, R. I love that. I wish I knew the genius that came up with Dinosaur Train. I mean, what little boy especially doesn't like dinosaurs and trains and to put them together in one show? My family does without a lot of stuff, but I would be horrified if we had to do without PBS.
At the entrance of Bullhead City's Community Park on State Route 95 is a marker honoring northeastern Arizona's vital relationship with the Colorado River. For nearly 30 years, in the mid-1800s, commercial steamships served the mining communities of northern Arizona, hauling supplies from as far downriver as Yuma. Cargo was unloaded at nearby Hardyville, often returning downstream with barge loads of local ore. Bull's Head Rock, from which Bullhead City derived its name, was located just upstream. The escarpment was used as a navigation marker and the point where Mojave Indians forded the river. Bull's Head Rock was submerged in 1953 with the building of Davis Dam. Today, the Colorado is still Bullhead City's lifeblood. Jet skis have replaced the steamships, and Laughlin, Nevada's casinos just across the river have replaced the mines, mining tourist wallets instead of the ore from the mountains.
The Maricopa Association of Governments annual Homeless Point-in-Time count shows fewer homeless people in the valley, but an increase of those forced to live on the streets. Here to talk about the survey is Amy Schwabenlender of the Valley of the Sun United Way and co-chair of the Continuum of Care Board. Welcome back to Arizona Horizon.
Thank you.
Good to see you here. The Homeless Point-in-Time count, what exactly is that?
Yes. The Homeless Point-in-Time count is a requirement by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and continuums of care are also required by HUD to be structured to receive federal dollars to fund housing programs. And in order to help HUD understand our local need, they also require this annual point-in-time count.
So it's basically kind of like a snapshot for one day, correct?
Exactly. It's a snapshot.
And this was taken, what was this, like January? It's January 23rd maybe of this year?
The night of January 23rd, 2017.
So how is a homeless count conducted? What happened on that night?
Well, what happened was about 300 amazing volunteers, including professional outreach workers, were assigned areas across the valley. And in general, cities form teams. Each municipality creates a volunteer coordinator that recruits these outreach workers and people in the public who just want to help. And they're assigned a grid, and they have about 4 hours to go out through their grid and identify people and ask them a set of survey questions. And they turn all of that data back into MAG, Maricopa Association of Governments, for tabulation. And here we are.
Here we are, yeah. And as far as the data is concerned, how many homeless people in Maricopa County as of January 23rd?
The exact number, so that I get it right, because people pay attention to the specifics in this number, there were 5,605 people on the night of January 23rd.
Now that is actually a slight reduction, correct?
It is.
What do you think's going on there?
It's about a 2% decrease overall, and the number of people counted on the streets, not sheltered, went up. And that's the count that night. The volunteers are out on the streets. They're looking in canals or behind public buildings. In shelters, those nonprofit providers are turning in their census for that night, and it gets added up to that number. There's a lot of things that we believe contribute to the increase in the street population. I would say the good news in the total number is it's been about 6,000 or under for the last 5 years.
Interesting.
The steadiness of that total, I think, tells us that our community's doing the best we can with all of the resources we have, that those direct service providers are serving as many people as they can, and there's an inflow of new people experiencing homelessness.
But if there are, if the number for homelessness is down and the number for on the street is up, from a distance, you'd think fewer people are using the shelters, more of them are on the streets. Do we know if A, is that true? B, why?
There's essentially the same number of shelter beds. There's been some reduction in transitional shelter beds, which were for longer term stayers, 18 to 24 months. And HUD over the last several years has reduced funding for that intervention. It doesn't make up for the total difference though. The other things we know are that Maricopa County is one of the fastest growing counties in the United States. And from July 2015 to July 2016, we gained more than 81,000 people, which means in total we have more people. And so for a percentage of the population who experience homelessness, again, I think we're doing pretty well. What we also know through the housing programs and a lot of feedback is the affordability of apartments, access to apartments, families who have numbers of children and really need 3 or more bedrooms and an affordable place to rent. That's becoming harder and harder to locate.
It's increasingly difficult, isn't it? Affordability.
Affordability is increasingly difficult.
The methodology, though, I mean, if you got more folks, I mean, the rising tide lifts all boats, even the boats that don't seem to have a home. But the methodology would seem to be a little bit better as well. I mean, it sounds like you had more caseworkers out there.
Yes, we've had more volunteers this year and last year out counting people. That could have contributed to the number of people found and counted. And that's a good thing, that we're finding more people to be able to then follow up and have outreach teams go back and find those people again and work to engage them in services.
Well, the Continuum Care Board, I noticed in the release here, the board said, the quote is, "The problem of homelessness is solvable." How?
Yes. Well, the problem of homelessness is solvable by housing people as quickly as possible and giving them enough wraparound services to reduce their potential for returning to homelessness. And there's more we can do around preventing people from losing the homes they have today and adding that inflow of new individuals and families into homelessness.
So resources, what kind of resources are needed out there? Do we have the resources, just not enough of them, or are there simply things that we don't have?
There's not enough resources. And this one funding process from HUD that we have the continuum of care and we have the point in time count for brings our community about $25 million. And that's not for any emergency shelter, that's all for housing intervention. I think it starts to paint the picture that we need to have a funded safety net for people who experience homelessness, that they can access a shelter bed and services and learn about a housing intervention that would end their homelessness. And then we need the resources there for these housing options.
As far as private industry is concerned, the private world, how can they help?
Well, as my United Way self, not just my Continuum of Care self, we encourage the private sector to get involved by contributing financially to nonprofits doing this amazing work and to advocate for change, to HUD, as we not everyone watching probably knows, the HUD funding is always up for debate. Should communities receive the same amount of money? It's not generally about receiving more money. So private sector people, general public people can get involved in however suits their desire. If they have a voice and they want to advocate, there's advocacy opportunities. People who can give of their time, their talent, their money, there's endless opportunities for people to get connected.
Well, with that in mind, and let's take a overview now of this study. What do we take from this? The January 23rd, we had 5,600 some odd folks out there. What do we take from that number?
I would say we take away that we're holding steady as a region, and anyone who reads stories from other communities across the country, their numbers of homelessness have gone up over the last several years. I would say it tells us, again, our provider network, our nonprofit partners and government partners are doing the very best they can to serve people experiencing homelessness. And the resources we have aren't enough.
All right. It's good to have you on. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thursday, a joint Arizona Horizon Horizonte special. We'll hear from stakeholders and experts on what might happen if President Trump renegotiates or pulls out of NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement. That's Thursday at 5:30 and 10 on Arizona Horizon, and Thursday at 11:30 p.m. on Horizonte. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Arizona PBS, members of your PBS station. Thank you.
When Dolphins Spy in the Pod continues, our spy cam